that vacation. When are we going? Somebody pick a date. When are we going on vacation? We're all going. It's a bus. We're going to hire a bus. We're all going.
April 4th. June the 4th.
June 4th? Well, that's a Sunday, and that's a good time to leave. So, okay. So let's just think about it. And we're going to be gone for what, 2 weeks?
Sure.
Sure, 2 weeks. Okay, so do I want to start my garden with tomatoes ripening June 4th and for the next 2 weeks thereafter and trust your neighbor to pick some and save them for you? No, my neighbors wouldn't save them for me. The deer won't save them for me, and the squirrels won't, I know that. But, so what we're going to talk about today is when you can start those vegetable seeds indoors, when you plant them outside, when to expect the fruit. So using the same type of logic of if a train leaves New York at 4 a.m. on a Sunday heading west at 20 miles per hour, and a train's leaving Los Angeles headed east at 45 miles an hour on a certain time, when will they meet and exchange passengers? Same principle. Every seed is going to tell you right on the packet. You read that packet. I'm going to give you some seed packets. Every packet is going to tell you what the germination date is. What does that mean? Germination date. See? So you can take these seeds, you can put them in a pot, put them out in the ground, in the garden, whatever. You won't see them for at least a week, let's just say. So the time that that hard seed pod opens up and something looks around and says, hey, it's warm up there, it's cold down here, I'm going that way. And that's basically what they do, and I'm not sure that's the right accent they use. But anyway, the seed pod opens, whatever it is, whether it's a hard one, a soft one, and we'll talk about those differences. And the little shoot comes out and says, I am thirsty, I want to find some water. Part of it goes down. I'm cold, I want some sunlight. And part of it's going to go up. And that's how they grow. That's called germination. The seed pod opens and you see something going on.
You want me to hold it?
Who wants to pack a seed? I'm not. I may need these back for the net. They're all different. They're all different. Some of them, but anyway. When you buy a good packet of seeds, I remember when I say good packet, it means it's one that has got the information you need on it. Some of the seed packs don't have anything on it. But if you look on the back, it'll tell you how deep to plant it. It'll tell you how far apart to plant them. It'll tell you, it should tell you how long it takes to germinate. And then it's going to tell you days to maturity. That's what you're really interested in. When am I going to pick some fruit? When am I going to have a BLT? When's my first BLT? Or my first jalapeno pepper to give to Jerry over here. Because he's going into, when you're in withdrawal, the seed packet has got almost all the information you need to manage and control your production. Not always there. Then you can go to Johnny's catalog. There's a handout that we have for you that has different vegetables. It has germination date, their days to maturity, and when is a good time in our part of Alabama to plant or start. So we have that in a chart form that you're welcome to take with you. You can always go to the Alabama Extension Service website, aces.org. We're not Auburn. Either one will take you to that website where you can look all this stuff up. Get more information than you ever knew you needed.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is it better to buy seed from the companies that specialize in seed, or does it matter? Are they all the same?
They're not all the same. And thank you for that question. I buy my seeds, Tommy buys his seeds, several of us growers buy them from people that are in a regular seed selling business. Reasons. Number one, they have a guarantee. Okay? And that guarantee is the germination rate. It's not 100%. Okay? Nobody's going to give you a 100% germination rate. If you think about being a farmer, growing corn, germination rate is extremely important to him. But he's fueling up that tractor, he's laying out his rows, he's laying out fertilizer, he's dropping seeds, fuel, spending a lot of fuel. He wants to make sure that the seeds he's planting are going to germinate at a high percentage rate. I'm going to say 90 to 95. Nobody's going to tell you 100. Robbie, some of these seed companies will guarantee it. Okay. A lot of them won't. Even your burpees. You gotta, if it's written on that pack of seeds, it's good. If you don't see it on your pack of seeds, maybe put that one aside and go to the next one. There's Ferry Morris, there's burpees, there's 2 or 3 others that are out there on a regular basis. They're in the business of selling seeds. That doesn't mean you're going to get something bad, but you want a high percentage of success. So when we buy from one of these companies that these catalogs come in, actually we buy from all of them. Hey, you got to have the mail come in. But right on the packet, and I'm sure on some of these, they'll tell you the germination rate. If they don't, then they should. The other thing to look for, and it is on these packets, this one's on the back, packed for 22, sell by the end of December. A lot of people will sell old seeds. By old, how old is old? 1 year old, 1 season old, probably not too bad. But it sure wasn't packed for 23, was it? And you want, if you go through all this trouble, get good seeds. But most of the seeds we buy, they will tell us the percentage of germination, such as is written right on the packet, and that's why we like them. So they usually say between 80 and 90%. 80% I can live with that. I don't like it. I'd rather have the 90 or 95% germination rate, but it's out there. You need to be aware of it when you buy your seeds. We've had some of the companies that we buy seeds from, and Tommy's seen this too, where they have put some seeds in their catalog, and they probably print these catalogs, like I said, probably in October, November, the year before they start arriving in your mailbox. And they'll say, well, based on what we've experienced with these seeds, the germination rate is 85%. We have seen statements on these seed packages that say the germination rate of these seeds after we tested them in our lab was only 75%. So we have included more seeds in your packet of 25. You're likely to get 30 to 35 seeds. We've seen them do that. They didn't have to do it, but they're in that business of selling seeds to people like us that rely on that germination rate. I've also seen them where they send out packets of seeds that we ordered with a germination rate, and they've been getting some phone calls that say, ain't so. They've sent us more seeds. Now, as you drop seeds in your containers to start them, a lot of practices will tell you to drop 3 seeds in a hole for that very reason. And when you drop 3 seeds in a hole, and germination turns out to be 100%, then you got a lot of plants. And you can see these, each cell has got multiple, these are tomato plants. Okay. So I dropped, for instance, in that hole, 3, and there's 3. I didn't know, but I'm better off seeing that, and I'll show you how to take care of that problem, than not seeing anything at all like in this one. I don't know what happened to that. Nothing came up. Now, either I missed it, didn't put a seed in there, or it was bad seed, one or the other. I don't know. I'll find out though. I will find out. So anyway, I think I'm off my agenda. Any questions? I've got how long do I have?
About an hour.
5 hours?
Yes.
Okay, good.
You're good.
An hour? Anyway, okay, outdoors or indoors, obviously you can plant outdoors, and we have a chart here that tells you when in our North Alabama area, and South Alabama is different, believe it or not. It's a little warmer down there if you've ever been to the beach. Anyway, so we have 3 planting zones in Alabama, maybe even 3.5. Up here is weird. We're kind of in no man's land up here. So the setting out date. Setting out date is, okay, you planted your seeds, they're up at various stages, and then the setting out date is when you take that little plant, seedling, and you kill it.
Yep.
You put it outside and see if it makes it. Now, truly, there's other things you do, but that's the setting out date. And then the dates to maturity is when you get fruit, and that's calculated from the setting out date. Now, there is going to be a test after this, so y'all pay attention. Write stuff down as you need it. So you got germination date, so many days. Most everything is about 7 days. Some seeds actually take longer, and that's maddening if you don't know it.
Peppers.
Just, where is it? Where is it?
Peppers.
Seems like forever, yeah. So, getting back to your vacation. So it's going to take 7 days to germinate. Probably going to take more than that. Let's see. Probably about 3 weeks from when you see the seed has germinated. I'm going to keep it warm and give it light. I'm going to talk to it. I don't sing to them anymore because they don't seem to like that. But, so you got about 3 weeks until you get to that setting out date where you're gonna sever the,
Umbilical cord.
yeah, the cord, if you will. Take it off life support, that's the word I was looking for. Yes, Jerry?
Do you go from your 9-pack to the ground, or do you go into another
No.
bigger pot?
I go bigger. Go big. Thanks for asking. I go bigger.
You go to a bigger pot?
That's what these are for. I will start going right to left. So I'll start in the smallest pot I can handle out, and I do it in my basement. I'm lucky to have a basement. So I'll start seeds in the basement, and then I will move them to larger and larger pots as they grow until they're so big I don't have any room for them inside anymore anyway. So they got to go outside. So I don't want to start them too early because I will kill them if I put them out too soon. Yes, ma'am.
The question about the setting out, do you set them out just in the pots they're in for acclimation to the weather? Or setting out means you take them and you put them in the ground and
Setting out is
survival of the fittest?
putting in the ground.
Okay.
The acclimation is a different process. You're right. I have learned the hard way, and I'm sure I'm not the only one out here that gets a little anxious. Oh, the sun was, what, 70 degrees yesterday. Bright sun. I was tempted. I got broccoli that is taking up more room than I have. Onions. Broccoli. Okay. Yeah, this is the peat pot that I started the seed in, and I've kept it in there. But it's ready to do something. It's ready to go somewhere else. It's probably, well, okay. Yeah, see, I'm breaking off roots already. So, I could put this in a bigger pot and grow it in a controlled environment for another couple of weeks, or I could bite the bullet and start setting them out. Okay. Now, you were exactly right. The acclimation process. What I do, what I found, especially with broccoli, the leaves and green part are probably okay out there in the cold. Broccoli is a cool weather plant. Cabbages, things like that, and spinaches are cool weather plants. They like it more cool. But that stem is not strong enough to stand up to the wind. The wind is the worst enemy of little seedlings. So I resisted sitting out yesterday. I was very close, and I said, no.
Supposed to be 20-mile-an-hour winds.
Yeah, and then there's Thursday, which we don't know what. This is broccoli. So stand up, come on. So the wind is the biggest enemy at this time of year. Later on, as it does warm up, the sun is an enemy. There's a lot of enemies around out there. I try to keep seedlings like that out from influences of the wind as long as I can. And then when I do set them out, I may give them a little stake of some kind, help them out, because they're just little babies. Okay? No offense, little babies are good. Yeah.
If you do transplant them, what medium do you use? Because you start out with the seeds.
I have a top secret No. We used to have a mountain of planting material that we would borrow from, but that's gone away. So I will blend this Jiffy, okay? It's mostly peat moss, a little other things, but you can get this at Walmart, Lowe's, other places, and that's enough for most home growers right there. But it's mostly peat moss. That's $7 a bag, roughly. You can enhance it with things like earthworm castings. But you had earthworm
Last
lady
month.
here last month, right?
Yes.
Very rich in the soil. They don't need fertilizer, okay? You don't need to buy potting soil with fertilizer that feeds them for 6 months. They don't need it. When they're this size, all they want is warmth, love, water, sunlight, or some kind of light, okay? They don't need fertilizer. Fertilizer will kill them.
So you don't start them out with any miracle grow?
I wouldn't. I think for that first germination period and that first 3 weeks of growing, you're wasting your money.
So what about, so you just use that totally by itself to start the seed?
You can, yeah. Like I say, it's mostly peat moss. Hold on. I'll let you stick your hand in here if you want. Make sure there's mice around there.
So what would you use the worm casting for?
They add a little bit of nutrient. You think an earthworm has digested the soil and it has passed through its system and made it better dirt. That's all I can tell you. There's probably no vitamins or minerals in there, but it's nice and loose. It has substance. The roots love it. And strong roots are the key to a strong plant. You should spend that whole 3 weeks before you start your setting out. You should concentrate on building roots. A strong root will give you a strong plant. But this is what this looks like. This is just peat moss. It's got a little perlite.
We're just talking among ourselves.
Do you mix it with a lot of water first before you fill the pots?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Everything up here is wet, soaked. The roots are going to absorb that moisture if it's there. If it's not there, they're just gonna mill around and die. They need the moisture.
But they don't need to like sit in some water. No. Okay.
Not sopping, just damp. Now, what I'll do, before I drop the seeds, I'll make sure that my planting medium is moist and warm. Moist and warm. That's what the seeds like. The seeds like it, the plant's gonna like it, I'm gonna like it. If it's not moist and it's not warm, it's not springtime. Think about it that way. Wildflowers. The example that sticks in my mind about the typical wildflower on the prairies of Minnesota and up in Yankee land up there. They give their life, they make their flowers, they drop their seeds. Winter comes, the seeds get covered with snow, and they stay under the snow blanket until the sun comes out in the spring, in the thaw, and the snow melts, which is water, hits the seed pods. Boom! They bust open. One part goes down, one part goes up, and they bloom all over again. Think about springtime. Warmth and moisture. Warmth and moisture. Light. Okay. Got to have a direction for those plants to go. They got to know which way is up. Where's the sun? Margie started me on growing stuff using old Christmas tree lights for the heat in an aluminum pan, under an aluminum pan. The old Christmas tree lights, incandescent lights, bulbs if you will, the ones that burned out and gave you fits when you tried to find which ones, they give off heat. The new lights, the LED lights, no heat. Light, sure, but no heat. So we had to change. I had to buy heat mats. I finally found some bulb Christmas tree lights at Sears when they were going out of business. I bought the 4 packs that they had, and I still have them. You can use other heat sources. These mats that are they're designed for it. Really not that expensive if you're going to do it year after year. And you can get them in this size, you can get them in a smaller size. The light can be any light. Any light. It doesn't have to be green grow, full spectrum plant light, unless that's all you're going to do. If all you're going to do is grow in a greenhouse, yeah, you need those lights. This is the normal seedling mat, okay? And I'll leave this box out here. This is where I bought them, Amazon or someplace. BioSun. They have all different sizes, very safe, economical. It's not going to run your power bill. It's not going to start spinning. Any light, okay? It doesn't have to be a grow light. It doesn't have to be full spectrum to replace the effects of sunlight. When you're growing seeds indoors, any light will do, okay? I've left the lights on 24/7, just trying to get things going. I don't think it matters, but generally I try to replicate what a normal day is.
So you don't think plants need dark and light? I was told by this guy that has a.
I think your
he
best.
says they need dark time just like we do. They need sleep time.
They do. They do. They get
After
tired.
they get out of the ground. When they're in the ground, it don't make any difference.
What Marty's saying is when they're outside, you know, they're gonna develop that was it circadian rhythm or whatever. It's gonna happen. Starting seeds, I don't think it really matters. We all want them to get up and get going. You know, it's like your kids in the morning. Yeah, come on, I fixed your favorite pancakes. Anyway, so I wouldn't worry too much about it, but if you can replicate what they're going to be going through as a normal day, probably the best.
How long do you keep the heat mat going?
I would start them out, keep the First of all, before I drop the seeds, I start the heat. Moisture, heat, moisture, heat. I want them, when I first drop the seeds, I want them to know, oh, this is nice. This is my home. I can grow here. Yeah. So try not to plant your seeds in a dry, cold hole. A warm, damp hole is the best. You'll be more successful. The little seeds will turn into very happy plants. They'll give you all the fruit and flowers that you want. So start them off right. Okay, heat, light, moisture. What I talked about city water. City water has Florence city water, okay, which goes all the way out to Killen and everywhere else. Has fluorides in it. It has chlorine in it. Chlorine dissipates quickly if you expose it to the air. Within 30-45 minutes, probably that chlorine's gone. Okay, so the chlorine's not the issue. Fluorides, things that make your teeth strong, plants don't much like that. Now they will survive with city water, but they'll thrive if you can give them rainwater or just let that, you know, put the city water in a bucket and let that chlorine evaporate for a day or so. They don't need a whole lot of water, but you certainly don't want them to dry out. Correct depth and cover. If you drop these seeds in too deep a hole, you'll never see them. They don't know which way's up. They don't know where the sun is. It takes twice as long to grow. So on your seed packet, depth of cover. A lot of them are 1/4 inch. Some of them are right on top of the ground. The wildflowers, you just think about the example I gave you about flowers drop their seeds and they're laying right there on top of the ground. They get no cover at all, except what blows over them. So pay attention to depth of cover and you'll be successful on raising your seeds. Growing media, we talked about that. I put the word sterile down there. Well, let's think about it. If you reuse planting soil, potting soil that you've used outside, it probably has some bug larvae in it, okay? Probably, more than likely. Because they're gonna go somewhere. So
Definitely has weeds.
and yeah. So I say sterile is a new bag, okay? Especially one that's formulated specifically for seed starting. If you're going to do it inside your house, if you don't care about bugs in your house, you know, fine, do whatever you want. Go ahead. Like I say, you can make sure it's loose. Because again, these poor little roots, they got to grow somewhere. And if you come up and you want to look at this, I did half of it. I was hoping this was going to be a little more dramatic. So one side was just gravel that I raked up in a place in my yard, and the other, this is my growing media over here. Now what I was hoping is you'd see all kinds of roots on this side, none on that. That's not the way it happened. Sometimes. But the denser dirt from my yard settled to the bottom. So one thing you'll notice if you come and look at it, not many roots down here in this dense dirt down here. Top, not too bad. But over here, you can see some of these plants, these are cucumber. They've grown sideways. You can see they're going into the good stuff. They know where the good stuff is. Well, that's the same thing in your garden. So loose is important so the roots have a place to go. How do you make dirt loose? By adding stuff. Earthworm castings. This is called perlite. And you can stick your hands in here if you want to. There's no bugs in here. This is perlite. It's not plastic. I'm not sure what it is.
Styrofoam.
Yeah.
Some part of styrofoam, yeah.
If any of the white stuff you see in the bags of potting soil, perlite. That's what it is. You can buy a bag of perlite at the co-op. You can buy it at Home Depot, probably. And they'll sell you probably a bag. I was going to say a 10-pound bag, but it's not 10 pounds. It's only 2 pounds.
Yeah.
But if you go to the co-op, if you're going to get into it in a big way, the co-op will sell you a bag stands this far off the ground, but you can still pick it up with one hand. But it'll last you for 10 years, probably. And you mix, mix about that much with about a wheelbarrow full of
Son,
peat moss.
did you use any vermiculite?
Yes. This is vermiculite. Okay? Same thing, very light. This is a natural occurring mineral, and the co-op, again, sells this. They were out of it the day I went down. This is left over from, but again, it's a big bag you pick up with one hand, carry around.
John, tell them the difference between vermiculite and perlite.
Color. I don't know, man. Margie, what?
Vermiculite holds the moisture.
Ah,
Perlite lets the moisture go everywhere else.
okay. That's good.
Both
I'm doing the
create
right thing.
airspace.
Yeah, they both,
Yeah.
yeah, both of them give airspace.
And airspace and room for these little bitty baby root systems to grow and expand. Again, roots, roots, roots. You want to make your root system as strong and healthy as you can.
So do you use both of those?
Yes,
Or
I
just
do.
one?
I use both. You can use one if that's all you get. I mean, anything to make your soil loose.
Do you put that in the ground around here to?
You can.
I mean, I have clay.
You need
We
2
all
bags
have
from the
one.
co-op. Yeah. Yeah. You can improve your soil by adding the earthworm castings, the perlite, till it in. Eventually, I mean, it'll be an immediate improvement for the roots. But over a couple of years, you won't have to add much more because
Right.
you're going to have a really good garden. Long term. Tommy.
You're talking about your garden spot that you transplant to. John and I both use a lot of organics. We get every kind of organic matter we get our hands on. The one thing that we used to use years ago, I told you to throw your caution to it, and that's manure. And the reason for the manure, the cow manure or the horse manure, you can get it down here at the sale barns, whatever. The problem is the farmers now are using a herbicide called Grazon, and they spray it on there, and it's real good for their business. It doesn't break down in the cow's digestive tract, but it stays in the manure part that comes out. It stays there, and they don't know how many years it stays there. You take it, when you bring it to your garden, and you put a tomato plant, a pepper plant in there, and you'll think you hit that plant with a blowtorch. It'll curl leaves up so quick, it's not funny. And that's why I caution you. Now, if you know a farmer or Mennonites don't use that kind of stuff, so the Amish have probably pretty good composted manure.
So you have to make sure you get organic.
Well,
manure.
I mean, it's all gonna be organic. It's just that some have the bad stuff in it and some of them don't. It depends on where you get it. Does somebody that has 1 or 2 horses, they don't spray their pastures, and they don't feed them hay from somewhere else, they get their own hay, then fine. There's nothing in there. But what you don't know is when you go down here to the sale barn, you don't know where those cows were fed, what pasture they were in, or that kind of thing. That's what you get into with horse manure or cow manure, is if the pastures have been sprayed with the Grazon product. And it will, it's not so much, what does it do to you? But that plant's a lot more sensitive to it than what you are.
We got about 10 more minutes before our first hour is up. I say first
Just a note, yes, we got off track, sorry.
Nutrients, okay? So you've raised your seedlings, you've given them heat, you've given them light, you got loose soil for the roots to grow. When do you start feeding them and what? Most bagged fertilizers, unless it says organic, commercially made fertilizer, 10-10-10, 8-8-8, 33-00, those bagged fertilizers are harsh chemicals. They will burn the roots. They will kill your seedlings if you give them too much. But what do you give them? Give them a little help. I'm just gonna tell you, this is what I use. It's called Sea Magic. It's a derivative. So it's harvested seaweed and it's dried. You can buy this at the same place you buy your seeds from. A lot of them will carry Sea Magic. It's a powder. So you mix 1 envelope of Sea Magic in a gallon of warm water. And again, I don't use city water. I'll go get some rainwater, or I'll take the water off of my dehumidifier. I'll save it during the year. If you've got a big dehumidifier system in your house, save that water. You'll use it. So 1 gallon with 1 envelope, warm water. Get it agitated and just shake it up. That's a concentrated mixture. When you make up a gallon of the feed, you only put that much of your concentrated mixture in 1 gallon. And again, I don't use city water. I try not to. I give them a little help, okay? So that 1 gallon of concentrated Sea Magic goes a long way, depending on how many seedlings you got. I usually go through about three envelopes of these a year, raising seedlings. Questions?
Oh, John, one thing, with the heating mats, you can't put your pot directly onto it. You've got to put something under it that's waterproof, because these heat mats, don't want water on them. So you'll have to put something under. I put aluminum trays under my seedlings to catch the water. And that way the aluminum heats just like it would if it was sitting directly on there.
Yeah, they put out a decent, this is plugged in, so you can come up and put your hand on here when you get ready to leave. It's a nice warm feel. You know, it's not gonna cook anything, as long as you keep them moist, keep those plants moist.
John,
Because it will dry them out, especially inside.
John, at what point do you start feeding them?
Ma'am?
At what point do you start feeding them the Sea Magic? When you transplant? Before you transplant?
Before I transplant, okay, so these tomato plants, let's just look and see, when did I start? I don't know, because I gotta write everything down. I got to put it all on a spreadsheet. I got a few things going on. But I think I did it. Tom's birthday. No, that's Tommy, my brother's birthday. Basil.
If it's tomatoes, probably about a week ago.
I think, yeah, the 3rd. So the seeds were dropped the 3rd, and I've kept them moist and wet, but I started giving them, at this stage, a little bit of Sea Magic. It's very mild, just a little bit of kickstart, So you can't start them too early. And then, and you can't overwater because they only need so much water. They're not gonna take in more water than they need. So those seedlings, what did I say, the 3rd, today's the 14th.
Week and a half.
So I'll keep them inside. I'll transplant. I'll show you how to transplant these things right now. And then, and I'll keep moving them. I think pepper, we know that tomato plants, you can keep planting them deeper and deeper. That's why I've got these different size. I'll wind up with tomato plants in pots that big before I take them outside. It's going to take 3 or 4 weeks, and we're probably not going to be ready, according to the Alabama Extension Service. We shouldn't be planting things like tomatoes outside until after the 15th of April.
Yep.
That's how many? 16th of April. That's a long time. That'd be pretty big if I intended to grow them. My regular tomatoes, I'm not going to start those for another 3 weeks. But I wanted to show you these. And if you want to see the transplant process, we'll see that right now. And you can get closer if you want. Or if you're scared. All right, so I'm going to show it to you. I'm going to get down here. As long as somebody promises to help me back up. Okay. So I've got moist planting soil. I'm probably just going to use this one right here. Now, if you don't like getting your fingers dirty, these are convenient because they're always right. I know where they are, so I can grab one. I make a little hole in the pot. Take these plants. Let's see. Which one of you guys? Okay, these are all the same variety. I was smart enough to put them all, mark them.
Don, do you transplant before you get your true leaves, or you do it for?
Do what, Tommy?
Do you transplant before you get your true leaves, or do you do it?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes. All right, so there's 2. This is a hole I dropped 2 seeds in. I'm going to grab one and the other. I'm just going to separate them.
Oh, you do separate.
Okay? See the little tiny roots? Okay?
You're so gentle.
You're a heel. Okay. Yeah, and gentle is the right word, because these roots will break off. At this stage, they're pretty good to handle. Okay. I told you I needed help. Oh. Okay. So I'm just going to drop it right in that hole.
And you said planting soil, so what planting soil are you using? Are you going now from what you started?
No,
doing
it's
to-
the same. It's the same. It's my top secret mixture, which is mostly peat moss. Okay, so sometimes the roots, depends on what it is, sometimes roots get real long. But anyway, just poke it in there, firm the soil up around the plant, and voila. And that is, and I gotta get my tomato stake, tells me what it is before I lose. This is called, this is a celebrity. It's a good tomato. It's a determinate tomato. Oh, we didn't talk about that, did we? Determinate versus indeterminate on tomatoes, okay? It only applies to tomatoes as far as I know.
Potatoes also.
Ma'am?
Potatoes,
Potatoes?
yes.
I did not know. Wow. I can go now, I've learned something. All right, determinate on tomatoes and potatoes. Determinate means that the crops, that maturity date on the crop pretty much comes out within about a 2-week period of all your plants. So the celebrity is a determinate tomato. When it's big enough, if I set it out, if I had 10 of them, all 10 of those plants would put their crops on about the same time. I mean, that train leaving New York and the one, you know, and so you want to plan your vacation, plant a determinate tomato, calculate the germination, setting out date, the days to maturity. You'll have all your tomatoes for your crop, for your canning, and you'll be done when you are sitting on the beach in Panama City, listening to all those kids screaming and yelling. Anyway, that's what that's all about, determinate. Indeterminate is more like an heirloom tomato. It just keeps producing and growing and producing until it gets tired, or the weather gets cold, or the bugs eat it, or there's a lot of other things. Have nothing to do with seeds. But anyway, get back to my intended agenda. Hybrid. Don't try to save seeds from a hybrid item, okay? Whether that's a flower or a vegetable or a potato. Hybrid means it was bred specifically for one crop. If you save those seeds and try to plant them again, hoping to get the same results, chances are it won't happen. It'll turn back into an open pollinated tomato, and you don't know what you'll go get, if anything. Heirloom tomatoes, heirloom anything is an old time, hand-me-down, great grandmas, pioneer ladies, whoever. Theoretically is that variety is as pure as the day it first was introduced to the United States in 1700 something. Well, pretty close. Whether it's 100%, I don't know with anybody. There's people out there collecting the old heirlooms varieties that you don't even hear about anymore. There's somebody over in Decatur that is selling those seeds, and I can't remember his name right now. Okay, growing media, we talked about that. Make them work, make the roots work for their water, okay? Make them get stronger and stronger. Make them work for their sea magic. Don't overfeed them, don't top feed them, don't top water them from the bottom. Make those roots go for it. You'll be better off in the long run. Seed sellers catalogs, we talked about that. Package 4 dates. The fresh seeds will be marked package 423. You'll see that on the packet somewhere. You'll be better off buying those dates. Determinate and indeterminate, we told that. Okay. Pests and problems. Fungus gnats.
Yes.
Okay, if you have an indoor greenhouse or an enclosed greenhouse, you're going to have fungus gnats. It doesn't matter how sterile your growing medium was, they're going to show up. How they got there, who knows? They are pests. They really don't damage your plants much, except they're probably a sucking type of bug, which means they'll put a hole in your plant and suck the liquids out of it. They can be killed and discouraged with turning on of a fan, like a mosquito. They can't beat their wings fast enough to hold still. They can't beat the wind. So if you've got a greenhouse, all you gotta do is turn a fan on. You can use, I use a organic bug spray on them so they don't damage the plants a little bit. I try not to use it, but some of your seedlings may get several different kinds of mold on top. If they get, the environment's too damp, you just scrape it off. Do you do anything different, Margie?
No, that's about all you can do.
Yeah. And it's not it's not a healthy thing, but it's not a killer.
Trick is not to water so much.
Right. Yeah. Spindly stems. Okay, come on over here. You spindly stem thing. These are broccolis again. And look, I got a time to transplant things. Look how many are in there.
Oh, jeez.
And that's what you call spindly stems. Especially on tomato, they're not getting strong. They're weak, and they're all over the place. And that's what we say. Pull them out, same way I pulled that out, gently. Plant them. Take these. I don't have a big tomato plant, so I'll just sacrifice one of these broccolis. I'll act like it's a.
What causes that, John?
Spindly?
Yeah, like that. Not enough light.
Maybe too much. Too much. It's growing faster than the stem. If you feel that stem's pretty stiff. But in a tomato, they just get like they're growing to the light. No problem. If this was a tomato, pinch off the lower limb, and then plant it that deep, all the way, deeper. So she wasn't there. When you replant it, you're taking it all the way where you pinched off those leaves. And you just keep doing it. That's why I use all these different sizes. I'll keep replanting, pinch off, replant, pinch off, replant, deeper. You're developing more roots. More roots will grow by putting those tomato plants deeper and deeper.
All the leaves or just down the stem?
Ma'am?
All the leaves, do you leave anything at the top?
No, just the bottom two.
Just, okay.
Just the bottom two.
How do you know which plants you can plant deeper versus the ones you've got to make sure you keep them at the same level? Is there on the seed?
I think at this side, no. You won't find anything about this at the seed. Tomatoes and I think peppers.
Plants want to be, tomatoes especially as big as you want to.
Yeah,
Tomatoes.
tomatoes.
I've done that a lot, but like your broccoli, could we plant?
No, I don't think so. I wouldn't. You can try a couple of them, but I don't know. I doubt it. I haven't tried. Tomato is the one we use the most of because it's
And
it's
it's
the
because it
most frequent.
forms roots on the stem itself. Other than just the roots being on the plant. But the tomato, if you lay it sideways, it'll form roots all along that stem.
Right.
Adventitious roots. That's what it's
Broccoli will
called.
not do that.
Adventitious roots, and you'll see ugly looking growths on a tomato plant, little bumps and stuff. It's trying to develop those adventitious roots. Brenda?
You took the bottom leaves off, okay. What about if you trim the top? Does that make it bushier and stronger or not?
It would make it shorter and bushier. I've had to do that with, cold damaged tomato plants. They're not gonna get, as big and gangly as as an indeterminate tomato would usually get. It'll make it more like a bush tomato. Short, but it'll work.
Just thinking, how do you deal with that spindly thing with tomato plants? When they're young? Would pruning them fit?
You can trim off that growing thing, and you'll get a short, squatty tomato plant. Yes.
Just leave the leaves on the bottom then? If you trim off
Just
the top?
The normal accepted way is to trim off the 2 bottom leaves.
Right.
Each time you transplant.
But if it's spindly and you're wanting to cut that back, you would leave the lower leaves and cut the top?
2 bottom leaves.
Okay.
Just the 2 bottom leaves only.
Okay.
Every time you transplant.
When you need to have it split.
Questions? Ma'am?
Real quick, and just because I missed it, I don't know what I was doing. Indeterminate means the individual plant grows whatever, it's not in line with all the others. It has a crop whenever it has a crop.
Indeterminate keeps growing.
It keeps growing.
Determinate
As maturity date and then it's gone.
has a maturity date, it puts its crop on, and you'd be better off pulling it up. You may get some tomatoes still on a determinate after that,
Not likely.
but not much, yeah.
And heirloom, I missed that. What's the deal on the heirlooms?
Mhm.
Am I saying it?
It's just old.
Heirlooms are, they're good tomatoes, and most people grow them because of the flavor. They do not have the engineered resistance to diseases that the science, GMO, that whole gamut of things.
I ended up with some from, the Mennonites last year,
Mhm.
and you talking about big tomatoes, and it just did, it kept growing, they kept growing. I mean, and it went on all the time until it got cut.
There you go, good.
Yeah, I've never.
Hope you
thought
can get
I'd
another
do
one
that.
from them.
No, I do too. Save some seed, it should be good, shouldn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, it depends on if it's an heirloom or an hybrid.
Well,
Do you know what they called it?
it's supposed to be a heirloom.
Heirloom, okay, your seed should be good. You should, now, how do you determine if the seeds you saved and the ones you found in grandma's icebox, how do you know if they're viable? That's the word, viable. If you've got a dozen seeds, take probably half of them and put them in a paper towel, fold it up, get it wet, put it in a warm place, warm, doesn't have to have sunlight, and just leave it for 4 days, 5 days maybe. Keep it damp and wet, warm, and open that paper towel up and see if the seed pod is open, a little green shoot coming out. Then you got a viable seed. Get that one in a pot. If after a week you don't see anything, throw them away, start over again. A week, they should bust, a tomato should bust out of there within a week.
Well, John, would it be better to do that with your seeds and then put it in the pot than just to put it in your pot? I mean, put it on a paper towel and let it sprout like that, and then put it in your pot?
I
Do
would,
you do
because you
that?
really don't know, if you put it in the pot and you're sitting and waiting, and you've read 2 books and you still don't see anything that looks like that, and then you wasted 2 weeks. You could do that, Polly, there's nothing wrong with that, it's just that's accepted way where you visibly can see that seed's viable or not.
Yeah, but I was thinking to always start your seeds that way. If you put it in a paper towel, then put it in a pot, and then
We have little baby
all your
seeds, so
seeds.
it might be pretty hard to transplant them.
Well, they won't grow in that paper towel on the first few things,
But then,
But with new seeds, you shouldn't need to do that.
what?
New seeds, you shouldn't need to do that. He's saying that for old seeds, because they have a germination rate that is pretty high.
What I had down is introducing your plants to the real world. Somebody asked me that if I just set them out. No wind, number one, no wind. I'll put the plants out and let them get exposed to the temperature first for 2 or 3 days, bring them back in. And then the next is sunlight, very little at first, a little bit more each day. And then again, no wind until they're out in the ground where you can stake them up. But that process of acclimating to the outside can be a long time, but you're better off spending that, investing in that, than putting them out, kicking them out, say you're on your own, good luck, because chances are you won't have any plants at all.
And what I used to do is take these bigger pots like this, cut the bottom off, and then when you plant your tomatoes outside, put that pot around it. That way it only gets sun for so many hours and the wind does not touch it.
Good, that's a good idea.
If the wind does get on your plant, tomato leaves especially, that plant will look like you hit it with Clorox. It'll turn this is white and thin. I mean, it'll just kind of roll. Don't give up on the plant. Give it a while and see if it don't come back out. You may have to put a little bit of super duper fertilizer on it, but it usually will come out. It's going to look like the devil if you do get one out too early and the wind gets on it. I'm telling you, it'll look like somebody come through and sprayed it with Clorox. But it can be brought back out.
Yeah, the wind is the worst damage to new plants.
I didn't show you the rest of my tools, and I'll try to hurry up because I know we're over time. This is my number one tool. And I don't mean at the lunch counter, but you gotta have, say if you're spread out in one tray and you got all these seedlings, this is a great way to get down, get the roots out, put them in something else. So if you want to use a silver spoon or a baby spoon from your spoon rack or whatever, but this is great. That's what I use. Sometimes I don't want to stick my fingers. I made a dibble. I think that's the right name.
Yes.
I took a piece of cedar and I just started cutting on it, and then I started whittling on it because I think it was the middle of the winter and I didn't have anything else to do anyway. So it's a hole maker, okay? So
Yeah, that's a good one.
a pencil, tongue depressor, anything. Seeds, getting your seeds out. What I do, use this or shot glass or whatever. I use one of these, and I'll open the pack of seeds, I'll dump them out in here, and I will be able to get one seed out at a time, I hope. I can't control opening a seed pack and dumping out and only getting the one or two. No, I open it up, put them all in here, and then I can put them back in the packet if I need to, if I don't use them all. Something simple stuff. What else we got? Oh, another toolbox. What do we got here? You want to have a good pair of scissors? You don't have to pull these seedlings up. Cut them off, the ones you don't want. That way, you don't disturb the roots. Very effective. Save time. Oh, look, a soil thermometer. Ooh. No need to guess. These are cheap. Stick it down there, leave it for about an hour, and go back and try to read it. Just like a thermometer you used to use on kids. But they work. If you want to, if plants say, don't put seeds in the ground until the ground is 55 degrees. All right. See if a train left Chicago. Anyway, that is a way of doing it, or you can just guess. Does it feel warm? This is $5, and I think I got it at Home Depot or somewhere. Soil thermometer. Another dibble. That used to be a spatula for a wok. Repurposed. Rapid test, probe. This has been a very useful little tool. Most of the stuff that you see on the shelves for pH meters, oh, this is a moisture meter. I don't use it that much. You can buy that. It tells you whether your ground is dry. Your finger doesn't work. pH meter. You'll find a plethora of pH meters, none of which work. They will all tell you your pH is 7. It doesn't matter how much you pay for it or where you bought it. It's going to tell you your pH is 7. Well, that's not right, but that's, don't bother with those. Oh, look, electronic soil. It must be better. No, it's not. However, I will endorse this one. This is a good pH meter rapid test. The nice thing about it is it's programmable. You can look up your plant. Asparagus, begonia, petunia. It will tell you the ideal pH for that plant. Plant by plant by plant. Right here. No, you can't have it. I ordered this online. It was not real expensive. And it works. So you can not only measure your pH and get a relatively good reading, but you can look up all this other useful information about where your soil should be for the plant you're getting ready to put in.
Tom, does that have an electrode that you change out or is it permanent?
No. But it looks like the tip is off. So there's some copper wires right there. Ha! There's the tip. Okay, this one is for sale. It's like I'll have to get a new one. Anyway, of all the stuff that's out there to tell you what your pH is, you're wasting your time. You can get a soil test through the extension office, and we brought some test kits, samples. Yeah. What?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So if you want to test your soil, there's some kits over here and instructions on how to gather the soil. Get it a representative sample, and I think it's up to $10 now. You send it down to Auburn with the check for $10. They will, if you put your email address in there, they will email you back the results of your test within a few days. It's real good, very accurate, give you more information than you will ever need in your garden. You tell them what you're trying to grow in that area, and they'll tell you, add earthworms, add
Calcium,
lime,
limestone.
add this. It'll tell you how much to add into the soil based on the sample you give them. So if you got multiple areas, take multiple samples. Questions? The extension, ma'am?
Sorry. How do you keep them from getting leggy?
Do what?
How do you keep the plants from getting leggy? Is there something that you're doing wrong?
Keep them what?
Getting leggy?
Not enough light.
Oh.
Not enough light.
Not enough time.
Yeah.
They headed to the light where they gonna head. They don't go fast over that light to get it.
So if you're doing something like this, as soon as they come up, you need to lower your light down, just as close as you can get it. And then as they grow, raise it on up.
This is a John design,
Oh, yes, go on.
and you don't have to do it like this, but I found pieces of PVC pipe that will fit inside each other so that I can raise up the light whenever I want.
Just drill holes.
Real simple. There's no patent on it.
That's a good idea.
And you can make it as wide. I did it 4 feet because it fits exactly in for a 4-foot table. Questions? Come up. Look at stuff.
You mentioned the zones around here. What do you commonly consider the zone of Florence area?
Between a 7.5 and an 8.
7B.
I think we're 7B.
B.
Yeah,
7B. Woo-hoo.
yeah,
Now that's, you know,
whatever that
Well, it
means.
used to be 7A, but now it's 7B.
now what that means is that a lot of fruit trees and things do thrive in a certain zone, and others won't even think about growing. So in Alabama, not like Tennessee is all in one zone, I believe. Nice. They can grow the same plants in Memphis that they grow in Knoxville. But this is a difficult state. You got Baldwin County down on the coast, and which is almost Florida weather. They can grow a lot different things, more things than we can grow up here, which is not much. And then in the whole middle of the state is a 6 or something like that. I don't know.
Difference on, yes, 6.
But it does make a difference if you're trying to grow something not native to our area. And there are very few people out there at the big box stores. They're not going to be able to help you. Will this grow here? Oh, sure. And if it dies, just come get another one. What's the one across the street, the garden center, across the road? Across the river, I mean. Porters. Most of the.
They'll sell you anything.
They'll sell you anything.
But you can't return it.
Nope.
Yeah, but anyway, they have some knowledge about what grows well, what will grow well here. Green Valley a little bit, but you can always call someone at the extension office. We have a helpline.
One of our master gardeners works at Porter's, and one of our master gardeners works at Lowe's.
But they can't say that. They can't say they're master gardeners. That's not legal. But anyway, any questions you got? If you see somebody around here that says they're part of Master Gardeners, then they're fair game. You can ask questions and get answers. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.